Soldiers who died are obviously heroes fighting for their country. The purpose of whether or not they should be there or not, though, is a big question. In the first Trump administration, Trump proposed removing those troops, and the neocons around him, the traditional conservatives around him, said, oh, no, we won't let you. They actually passed a law trying to prevent him from removing troops from Syria. I was with the president in the first administration that a couple of hundred troops in Syria are more of a tripwire than a strategic asset.
So, a shooting that killed 3 Americans in Syria. I agree with Rand Paul. They're sitting ducks. There's no good reason for them to be there overall. But more importantly, who actually did the shooting? So we know the specific guy. Michael's going to tell you the facts, and you're going to see who did it. But do I believe the government story that they solved it in 5 seconds flat? No, I do not. So we'll talk about that. But first, the facts before my speculation.
Just like Rhode Island, right? Over the weekend, Cenk, 2 US National Guard soldiers were killed in Syria. A US civilian interpreter was also murdered as well. The incident took place on Saturday. It marks the first US combat deaths under Donald Trump's second term. As for the attacker, according to US officials, he was a member of ISIS. Trump wrote on Truth Social, "This was an ISIS attack against the United States and Syria in a very dangerous part of Syria that is not fully controlled by them. The president of Syria, Ahmed al-Sharaa, is extremely angry and disturbed by this attack. There will be very serious retaliation." Here's what Syria's internal ministry spokesperson told the Associated Press. The gunman had recently joined Syria's internal security forces. However, he was suspected of being an ISIS member. So he was reassigned to a different location while officials investigated whether or not he was affiliated with ISIS. The shooting took place before that investigation was completed. On Saturday, the man stormed a meeting between US and Syrian security officials who were having lunch together and opened fire. Syria's internal ministry spokesperson acknowledged that the incident was a, quote, major security breach, but said that in the years since Assad's fall, there have been many more successes than failures by security forces. And then we go to X, where this administration by social media continued. And this is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. The savage who perpetrated this attack was killed by partner forces. Let it be known, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you. Ooh, yeah. United States troops have been stationed in Syria for over 10 years now. Only recently has the US military officially collaborated with the Syrian government. Last month, Syrian interim president Ahmed al-Sharaa joined the global coalition to fight the Islamic State, which contains 89 other countries. Al-Sharaa's critics are now stating the attack proves that Syria's internal security forces have been infiltrated by ISIS. Cenk, what do you say about all of this?
Yeah, so I'm suspicious of the immediate conclusion of our government. So as soon as it happened, they said they shot the guy dead. Okay, good. And they said, lone ISIS gunman. No. So do I know that that story is false? No, of course not. How could I possibly know who organized this, right? But that also goes for the US government. How do you know he's a lone ISIS gunman? So the guy's dead. You didn't investigate to see if he's connected to more ISIS, for example, a bigger branch of ISIS. Was he ordered by ISIS? How do you know he was a lone gunman? That doesn't make any sense at all, okay?
Not to mention, Cenk, that like they're even saying, al-Sharaa is saying, our security forces are now infiltrated by ISIS. ISIS doesn't work solo. We've learned that over time. That's not their MO.
Yeah, so I have a million questions. So how infiltrated are the security forces? Are we saying lone ISIS gunmen because we don't want you to look at the security forces? Or how big is ISIS in Syria? How much of a threat is that overall? There are 2 governments nearby that are trying to take bigger and bigger chunks of Syria and have a lot of agendas within Syria, and that's Turkey and Israel. So we know Turkey does false flag operations. Their foreign minister was caught on tape about Syria that we covered on the show, where he's on the phone and he's saying, hey, maybe we should attack our own base. And that way people will say that, then we'll say Syria did it, and that'll give us an excuse to go into Syria. So like a lot of Americans think, No, conspiracy theories, they're all crazy. There's no conspiracies at all. I come from the Middle East. I mean, I was a kid when I came here, right? But I still have family there, etc. I came from Turkey. Everyone in Turkey believes their government does every conspiracy. You know why? Because their governments generally do conspiracies, right? And so I bet you that is true of almost every government in the Middle East. But it's not just a Middle Eastern thing. Does the Chinese government do conspiracies and not tell their own people? Of course, right? Almost all governments do that. So when our government jumps out and goes, lone ISIS government, we solved it, let's move on. I go, I don't know. Are you sure? Did you investigate the Turks? Did you investigate the Israelis? Did you investigate ISIS? Did you investigate the internal security forces? No, you literally didn't investigate any of them. So I know the guy who did it because he's dead. Do I know who was part of it? No, we don't know that at all.
We don't know that, but we also know this is an administration that would have, I'm of two minds on this, right? I mean, they're looking for an enemy. They're looking in Venezuela for an enemy. They're looking in the Middle East for an enemy. They're trying to distract from the problems at home, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein, whether it's the economy, whether it's immigration, whether it's the backlash against their administration from Republicans, whether it's the fact that they're going to lose the election in 2026. All of these things, they're trying to find ways to change the last thing I said, which is lose the election. So the more enemies you have and the more reason that you can put Pete Hegseth out there to say, we will hunt you, we will find you, we will kill you, the more they believe this is going to invigorate the electoral public here in the United States. And to that end, it is less, what doesn't support that, my argument here, is that he's saying it's one lone gunman, which we have no idea if it's one lone gunman, as Cenk just said. But what we do know is that ISIS, in a broad way, is a big enemy of the United States, and it has worked well to be fighting ISIS. So if you have Syria with you fighting ISIS and rooting it out within their security forces, and you have the United States having a reason to hunt and kill somebody else, I think that's exactly what this administration and certainly what this Secretary of Defense wants, Cenk. I think that they're always looking for an enemy.
Yeah, you know what, I gotta say, when I was growing up, I think I was too naive and innocent. Like, if the government generally says something and ABC reported it or whatever, I would have believed it. I believed it for a long time, right? And now when I look at this, so Ahmed al-Shara, the Israelis are upset with him, and they helped to topple Assad. Turkey did a bigger part in toppling Assad. Now they don't like al-Shara, and all of a sudden there's a shooting that seems to get us angry about the Syrian government, right? On the other hand, Trump likes al-Shara. He was spraying perfume on him in the White House. Now remember, al-Shara is a guy who we had on our terrorist watch list, but he was such a significant player in Al-Qaeda that we had a $10 million bounty on his head. But now he's a good guy. Now all that is wiped away, and we are told by our government, the guy that was so valuable, so dangerous that we were gonna pay somebody $10 million to capture or kill him is now lovely and has perfume all over him, right? And so Trump also could have a motivation to make this go away. So you're not angry at the Syrian government, right? So in a situation like this, especially given that it's in Syria and we don't have a lot of reporters in Syria, we might never solve if there was a bigger operation behind this killing. But that brings me back to Rand Paul. Look, I get why there has to be some US personnel in these countries, but we put way too many people in the middle of the Middle East waiting to get attacked by someone for someone's agenda, right? And so they become like the fodder for the war machine. If you want to start a fight, you kill some Americans in the Middle East and try to drag America into it. Oh, I hate that. So, I feel terrible for the 3 people who lost their lives and their family. Let's try to bring everybody home as quickly as possible. And yes, you should be deeply skeptical of your government. Okay, so.
Well, I mean, I have nothing more on that except the skepticism. I think that what happened when you were listening to ABC and CBS, so much of what you were getting was right. It was well reported, it was well researched, it was well investigated, but some of the glaring misses are the ones that sort of stick with you. And now, as that reporting, investigation, editorial has kind of withered, we find ourselves in a position where you have to be skeptical all the time, especially when governments obfuscate, not just this one a lot, but not just this one, as a matter of course.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. totally not true. But it does keep you updated on our live shows.